This is a story about growing up. For a young otter, childhood is the best time of its life. For months, it receives intense nurturing, protection, and love from its mother. An otter pup must be taught how to survive, and his mother handles this job with patience and tenderness. There are few creatures more devoted to their young than a mother otter. That's what makes our story so touching. It's about a young otter who's lost its mother. The orphan is being raised by human parents who must teach the pup everything an otter needs to know.
When you're working with a pup, it's a one-to-one thing. I mean, they're looking at you and you're looking at them, and your mom, you know, you have a lot of responsibility. Their survival is based on how you raise them.
Eventually, the day comes when they have to let the pup go. They and we will discover if it can make it on its own.
Nature is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and biannual financial support from viewers like you, your local gas company, and America's natural gas industry, fueling power plants for a cleaner environment. And by Canon, quality and innovation for the way we work and live. Canon.
In the cold waters of the northern Pacific lives one of the Earth's most extraordinary creatures. It uses its nimble paws almost like hands. And this highly intelligent animal cares for its young in surprisingly tender ways. This is the sea otter. In the hands of an otter, a rock becomes a tool. But this remarkable ability is only a small part of what makes this animal so fascinating. Their ocean home is beautiful, but it can also be harsh and dangerous. This is a world full of challenge, and it's here that our sea otter adventure unfolds. Once hunted nearly to extinction for their incomparable fur, otters are now a common sight floating in the kelp beds of Central California. Their distinctive personalities show through even when resting. Each otter seems to strike its own unique napping pose. This otter anchors itself in a kelp blanket. Not far away, harbor seals bask in the sun. A black oyster catcher searches for a snack on a wave-washed shore. This is Big Sur, a 100-mile stretch of California wilderness, a rugged and inaccessible shoreline despite a winding scenic highway high above. In the chilly waters below, a sea otter grooms its velvety fur, the densest of any mammal. They have more hairs in a few square inches than most dogs have on their entire bodies. They groom not only to keep clean, but also to fluff air into the pelt, for it's this trapped air that keeps them dry and warm. Like a creature dwelling in the treetops of a rainforest, the sea otter floats above the canopy of an underwater jungle. Stems of giant kelp reach up 150 feet from the seafloor, growing faster than any other plant in the world. This forest of kelp teems with life. From the small and menacing to the large and amusing, some kelp residents are appealingly familiar, while others resemble creatures from an alien planet. Above this shadowy world floats the sea otter. Adults weigh about 50 pounds, one of the smallest marine mammals. Most California otters never set foot on dry land. They're so completely at home in the sea that they even bear their young here. When possible, they keep their furless paws dry in order to conserve body heat. Each individual seems to have its own favorite menu, but as a group, they eat a wide variety of foods. This one is taking advantage of one of the most readily obtained snacks, marine snails. They're harvested like grapes from the vine. Tucking several snails into the loose skin under its arm, the otter gleans the kelp from bottom to top. Snails are easy to find, but their shells are hard to open. Sea otters have an ingenious solution to this problem. They use rocks as anvils. They eat snails one after another, like people snack on peanuts. The sea otter is one of the very few animals that uses tools. Some otters use a rock to knock loose shellfish. A scavenging gull hangs around, hoping to snatch a scrap of food. A cormorant is here to take advantage of the otter's hospitality in a different way. Sea otters usually dive 20 to 75 feet and stay down about a minute. The cormorant follows close behind. It's looking for some small tidbit uncovered by the otter's excavations. Of all the creatures in the sea, otters are the only ones able to turn over heavy rocks in search of octopus, crabs, urchins, or other shellfish. And the cormorant hopes to find a meal of its own in the process. The cormorant can match the otter for depth, but not for the duration of its dives. Growing short of breath, it heads for the surface. The otter surfaces with one of its favorite foods, a sea urchin. The stiff spines are no match for the otter's dexterous paws and sturdy teeth. Sea urchins are also prized as a delicacy by people. In parts of California outside the otter's present range, urchins are harvested commercially, primarily for export to Japan, where the roe brings top dollar. Otters have been gone from some areas for more than a century, and urchins have grown abundant in their absence. In recent years, the otters have started to return to these areas, and fishermen now worry that all the sea urchins soon will be gone. It's a conflict also felt by divers who harvest another of the otter's favorite foods, abalone.
Clearly, we are hunter-gatherers. We're going out and harvesting wild stocks, but we're doing it very selectively. We swim down, we look at each individual before it's taken, it's measured. So there's a minimal amount of disruption to those animals and to the substrates. So it's actually a very selective fishery. We don't use traps, we don't use nets, we're not dragging equipment across the bottom. It's a pretty clean activity. We often think of ourselves as tending gardens underwater, and it's very much like that.
Sea otters love abalone, and they forage for them much like human divers. But otters place no limits on the number or size of their catch. As a result, within the otter's range, there are comparatively few abalone, and those that remain are to be found only in deep crevices. Many dives to the same spot may be necessary to dislodge the abalone's powerful suction grip. A large abalone is worth the extra effort. It takes a lot of calories to keep an otter warm. An adult may need more than 20 pounds of food a day. This big appetite has a major impact on the shellfish population. Bits of debris drift from the otter's feast, but they do not go unnoticed. A scrap of abalone is a sizable meal for this lucky kelp bass. Sea otters are remarkable divers, able to plunge 300 feet deep, and they can stay down for nearly 4 minutes without a breath. Wherever they forage, an abalone this large is an uncommon treasure. A sea otter's belly is also its dinner table. A bed of abalone ready to spawn. From small holes in their shells, females spew out eggs by the millions, while nearby males discharge their sperm. These emissions can also occur in an artificial environment. The cultivation of marine organisms is called mariculture. These tiny abalone are being fattened up on their favorite food, live kelp. It takes several years to reach market size, but the future of this enterprise looks promising. It remains to be seen, however, whether abalone mariculture will ease the conflict between sea otters and fishermen. In the expanse of this wild shore, such controversies seem remote from the otters that while away a sunny afternoon socializing. This female has recently come into heat, and a nearby male responds. Her scent can be detected from a great distance. He finds the attraction irresistible. They begin a tumultuous courtship. During this time, the male rarely lets the female out of his sight, and the pair mates frequently. He often grips her roughly by the nose, which amazingly may trigger hormones that help her to conceive. Sometimes the male's courtship can be dangerously rough, but this female emerges from the affair little worse for wear, except for a very sore nose. Within a day or two, the pair separates. The female finds a protected cove where she can rest undisturbed and nurse her tender wound. It will be many months before this female gives birth, and her mate will take no part in the care of the offspring. he goes off to find other females within his territory. Soon, each will face a new challenge: the rough weather and heavy seas of winter along the Big Sur coast. Yet even in the midst of a violent storm, the resilient otter thrives. The storm's fury gradually subsides. Some otters have taken shelter in a protected cove. A 2-week-old pup gets all of its nutrition from his mother's milk. In order to feed herself, she must leave the pup behind to float like a fluffy cork. Her foraging dive takes her deep below the impatient pup. As the seconds tick by, the pup begins to worry and to wander. She sees that the pup is no longer where she left him, but his distress calls help guide her to him. With the pup now securely in tow, she heads for the companionship of a nearby raft of otters. In the next 5 months, his mother will be his cradle, his provider, and ultimately his teacher. The pup must learn from her how to use his instincts to survive in the sea. Bad weather can be the sea otter's worst enemy. Even adults can be killed in a storm. A pup that loses its mother at sea would have little chance of survival in the harsh wind and cold water of the Pacific. A mother's protection can take many forms. This orphan has been adopted by a new mom, Julie Heimer, at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. In the 2 days since she was found washed up on a nearby beach, she has grown comfortable in her new surroundings and quite attached to her new mother. Care for this 2-week-old pup must continue around the clock. It's an exhausting schedule because each pup responds best to care from only 1 or 2 people. Unlike most orphaned otters, this one will someday return to the sea. Her future depends on the guidance she'll receive from her human mother.
You got it in your nose. How'd that happen? Get you cleaned up.
Preparing the orphan for release 8 months from now requires many hours of training. But for the time being, our pup can rest secure in the comfort of a mother's embrace. Now, Marcy Tarvid takes her shift with the pup. Hours of care each day are spent grooming the orphan's fluffy infant coat. Caring for an orphan otter is a very demanding job, but despite the long shifts, there are few complaints. In the kelp beds outside the Monterey Bay Aquarium, wild sea otter mothers have their hands full too. Sea otters have few predators, but there is one major threat to their survival. Only 50 miles to the south of the otter's present range, there are conspicuous reminders that oil development is a fact of life on the California coast. One large spill could wipe out many, perhaps all, of California's sea otters. In an effort to be better prepared for a big oil spill, the Fish and Game Department is studying wild otters. Today, they set out to capture and tag one as it lounges in the kelp. Divers use special gear, underwater scooters, and capture nets. Instead of scuba gear, these divers must use rebreathers, units that don't emit bubbles that might rise to the surface and give them away. The unsuspecting otter is in for a surprise as the diver prepares to scoop it up from underneath. A captive sea otter can put up a good fight, and their formidable teeth are carefully avoided.
I like this a lot. Okay, all right, yeah.
Colored flipper tags will allow the otter's movements and habits to be traced throughout its life, which can span 15 to 20 years.
There it goes.
By studying otters like these, researchers hope to gather information that will better prepare them to deal with a catastrophe, like the one we all witnessed in March 1989. Television viewers watched in horror as the Exxon Valdez leaked 10 million gallons of crude oil into the coastal waters of southern Alaska. It was a disaster for wildlife. It killed countless waterfowl and other seabirds, and it was the first spill to affect sea otters in the Pacific. As the toxic ooze washed up on many beaches, the end, for some, came quickly. Despite rescue efforts, multitudes of those less fortunate suffered lingering, ugly deaths. The otters became the symbol of this tragedy, and millions of dollars were spent trying to save those left clinging to life. Eventually, 6,000 perished, nearly 4 times the number of otters in all of California. Our voracious appetite for oil has many costs. Although sea otters are associated more with California, Alaska is the true heartland of their range. Here, an otter mother cares for her pup among the icebergs. A neighboring group of males plays King of the Mountain, Alaskan style. When the water is this cold, even an iceberg is an inviting spot for a mother to rest with her pup. But to prosper here, she must travel. In the open waters outside the fjord, sea otters congregate by the dozens. It may look like they're scratching fleas, but they're grooming themselves. An otter's fastidious grooming habit is what keeps it alive in these frigid temperatures. For proper insulation, their coats must be kept immaculate. Unlike their California relatives, Alaskan otters are quite at home on dry land, and they're slightly larger. Sea otters can now be found in Alaska in astounding numbers, but they were once abundant from Alaska to Mexico. Then in the 18th and 19th centuries, fur hunters arrived. Russians were followed by waves of English and American traders. 100-year slaughter ensued, driven by the astronomical prices that a pelt such as this would bring in Europe and in the royal courts of China. By 1911, when laws finally halted commercial hunting, there were precious few otters left in all of Alaska. These, and the few that escaped slaughter in California, were the last survivors in North America. Since then, sea otters have made an incredible recovery. There are now about 1,800 in California and more than 160,000 in Alaska, where rafts of about 1,000 animals can still be found. One of the staples in the otter's diet can be found on the mudflats at low tide, mussels and clams. Finding clams requires a new approach. Instead of using tools, otters burrow deep into the mud, nearly disappearing into the large cavity they create. They roll to wash debris from their fur. Some people feel that otters eat shellfish that should be reserved for humans. They claim that otters sometimes put people out of work, and in a few places, they're probably right. But the otters are often blamed unfairly. Near the town of Cordova, clam canneries once did a booming business. Now, like slender grave markers, the rotting piers stand derelict. The canneries were abandoned when the clams vanished. Many fishermen blamed the otters, but other factors were also at work. In 1964, there was a very powerful earthquake here, warping long stretches of Alaskan coastline and drowning seaside trees. It was the massive earthquake that destroyed many of the clams when the land shifted and the water level changed. That is why the canneries failed. In this case, there's little doubt of the otter's innocence. Many Alaskan otters live in the shadows of enormous glaciers, immense frozen rivers of solid ice. Over time, measured in centuries, this awesome mass is drawn toward the sea. Here, an ice wall nearly 10 stories tall finally yields to the irresistible forces of gravity. Seals and otters more than 100 yards away respond to the disturbance. The shock waves travel more than a mile to reach this group of lounging harbor seals. As the swell subsides, sea otters use the recently fallen ice for sunbathing. No one enjoys the respite more than the otter mothers and their young. A small pup spends much of the day up on its mother's belly, where it's protected from the cold. In the immensity of the Alaskan wilderness, sea otters can rest easy. Their future seems secure. In the midst of this frigid and forbidding landscape, mother and pup find comfort in the warm bond that unites them. In California, the orphan pup looks to her human mothers for solace. Ice cubes are a cooling snack that keeps the pup busy, while Marcy meticulously grooms her coat. It's difficult to duplicate the maternal relationship. As she explains, being a sea otter mother is a uniquely rewarding occupation.
When you're working with a pup, it's a one-to-one thing. I mean, they're looking at you and you're looking at them, and your mom, you know, you have a lot of responsibility. You're the person who's going to make them happy or make them sad. So it's a real touching thing to be working with them. It's not like any other marine mammal that I've worked with, because the other marine mammals are usually independent, and that's the way it should be, you know. With a sea otter pup, you're teaching it, or you're imitating mom, and you have a big responsibility. Their survival is based on how you raise them.
Marcy mimics the sound and movements of a real otter mother. Hiding pieces of food within the kelp introduces the pup to the idea of foraging. Making a game of the feeding sessions keeps the youngster interested by forcing her to work for a meal. The pup searches enthusiastically, confident that Marcy will eventually lift the empty shell and reveal the food hidden underneath. Thanks to the affectionate care of people like Marcy, this pup is now ready to move outside for the next step toward her return to the wild. Summer arrives on the Big Sur coast. This wild otter pup has just begun to get up the nerve to explore a bit while mother forages. His reliance on his mother goes far beyond food. He seeks out her tender embrace almost like a child reaching up to be hugged. Once safely aboard, the pup grooms contentedly. He's in good hands. As he matures, he will learn everything he needs to know from his mother. Back at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, our orphan pup has outgrown the indoor nursery, and Julie Heimer prepares her for her first swim outside. The protected tide pool area in front of the aquarium is the perfect spot to gently introduce her to this new and intimidating world. As Julie explains, great care is taken to make this first experience in the open water a positive one.
The first time we take a young pup to the tide pool, Generally, it turns out to be a very short session because the pup was kind of nervous. She doesn't recognize the smells or the visual walkway up above. There's a lot of new things that this little pup is seeing, but she is already scared. And we're carrying her through the aquarium from the sea otter nursery out to the tide pool, down the stairs, and we basically just sit on the rock and put her on our lap.
There are many new sights and sounds out here, but the pup remains calm, if perhaps a little apprehensive. With the innocent trust of an infant, she joins Julie in the water despite her odd appearance. They float together, getting used to the water. They nuzzle each other, which reassures the nervous pup. Although still too young and fluffy to dive to the bottom, she will do her best to follow Mom's every move. It will take Julie's helping hand to get the buoyant pup to the bottom. In the wild, an otter pup nearly 5 months old has an appetite that keeps his mother busy finding food. Like a human mother who teaches favorite recipes to her children, a mother sea otter passes on her particular foraging skills to her young. This youngster, like his mom, is developing a taste for crabs. Our pup, now nearly half-grown, gets daily training sessions that expose her to as many different foods as possible.
They're watchers. They're going to watch their mother. So it's important that we continue to follow through with the behaviors, foraging, tool using. These are behaviors that the pup would observe the mother doing each day, round the clock.
Unable to hold her breath quite as long as an otter, Julie returns to the surface, where she tries to round out the lesson with a simple exercise in collecting snails. Maintaining the pup's interest can be one of the most difficult and frustrating aspects of this vital tutoring.
These pups develop day after day. Their skills increase with our training, so they're constantly changing and growing up. we need to keep up with that. We always try to be one step ahead of them with stimulation and development.
Julie's responsibilities include the feeding of 4 captive otters in one of the most popular exhibits at the aquarium. These otters are also orphans. They were brought to the aquarium before the release program began.
They're too cute. There's 2 of them up there and they're just right. Look at that. See that one there?
Their charisma is irresistible. There's something delightful about them that appeals to the child in all of us. The otter's charm is big business in places like the aquarium gift shop. Interest in otter merchandise goes hand in hand with curiosity about otter life and the ocean they inhabit. Otters have become conservation ambassadors.
45.
They're a central part of a multi-million-dollar tourist industry that now thrives along California's Central Coast.
I think you would. Oh, that's cute. I want to sit there and really see them. How much are they?
In Monterey, otters have become stars. They even serve as mascots for a local Japanese sushi restaurant. Here, ceramic boats shaped like otters deliver seafood to diners. An empty abalone shell becomes a plate. The preparation may be different, but the fresh seafood served here are similar to those on an otter's menu. A few sea otters in Monterey have become so accustomed to people that they make their home in the busy harbor. Foraging on shellfish that grow under the docks, the ingenious otter is surprisingly adaptable. At the aquarium, Julie is out for a swim with the pup, now nearly full grown.
During a swim, one could only hope that you actually get to see your pup pick up a prey item and take it to the surface. I mean, that's what we've been striving for months. And when she actually goes down and picks up a crab or an abalone or a clam, that is letting us know that we have reached time of release. It's exciting when we actually teach them something.
This pup has passed with flying colors. Now she's ready for the real thing. No more lessons, no more tests. On the day of her release, Julie and her staff watch from a distance. The pup is moved to the adjacent beach, and when all is ready, she's coaxed into the light. The pup heads out into her new world. She leaves behind the home where she grew up and the only mother she's ever known. For those on shore, it is not easy to watch her go.
I think the entire staff, including volunteers, they understand the objective of what the program is, and that is to return the sea otter pups to their natural environment. We are going to create a bond with them. We're going to play mommy for 6 to 8 months. That you know what the ultimate goal is. It joins a wild raff, and when sexually mature, it will reproduce. Now that's the tough part. Even though the animals are cute and cuddly when they come in, letting them go.
What does the future hold for our pup now that she's out on her own? Sadly, many of the rescued orphans don't survive to adulthood. But with some luck, she'll adjust quickly to her new life back in the wild. The training she received at the aquarium seems to have paid off, and she hunts for food with confidence. Abalone is only one of the many shellfish she's learned how to find. But soon, she may have more than food on her mind. In several years, our pup will be ready to start a family of her own. Will her human training be adequate to prepare her for motherhood? This male has shown some interest in her. It's the promise of a new chapter in the sea otter story. Our pup may someday pass on to her own youngsters the care and training she received from a human mother. Perhaps the best part of the story is just beginning.
Nature is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and biannual financial support from viewers like you. Your local gas company and America's natural gas industry, providing air conditioning that helps preserve the ozone layer. And by Canon, quality and innovation for the way we work and live. Canon.
This is PBS.